Good morning, everyone. It is Monday morning, and we're on episode 48 of ASMM Digital Small Business Connections. I have had a great weekend. I'd love to hear how you guys did, so leave a comment, and that leads me to that. As you leave comments, we can see them. I can pull them up on the screen so Nikole will be able to see them. She's our guest today, and other people can see them. But also, I started this podcast so that you, as a small business owner, could get your business out there. So shameless plugs are not just welcome, they're expected. Put your information in the comments so people can see what your business is, what you specialize in, and why you're so great, because I know you're so great. So please do that. I want to remind you also, we are on YouTube Live, we're on Twitter Live, and we're on Facebook Live. But I could really use some subscribers over at youtube.com/Brennan Annie. So if you could go over there and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Another reminder that ASMM Digital Campus is up, it's live and running. So ASMMcampus.com. And we have a 19-part series on everything you need to know about digital marketing for your business. So please go over there and get a membership. It's easy. You can get a free membership. You can get a paid membership depending on what you want to look at. And we're adding new material all the time. But I want to introduce you to my guest today. We have Nikole Dickman with us. Hi, Nikole. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How was your weekend?
The weekend was fabulous. Fabulous. Beautiful weather, amazing outside. It was lovely. How about yours?
Oh, the weather was incredible. I was outside a lot of it, actually. I don't even know where you're from. Where are you located?
I'm just south of Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, wow. So you've got the heat down there.
You?
We're in Maryland.
So beautiful.
It was beautiful this weekend. And we just moved to Chevy Chase. And in Bethesda, they opened up they closed down a street, but opened it up with tables so people could come and have dinner. So beautiful dinner outside with my family over the weekend, which was nice. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So I have gotten really lucky. I started this podcast. With just my local business owners. And then an agent reached out to me and said, hey, can we give you some other people to interview? And I read your story and I thought, oh, we have to share this one. So I wanted to make sure that we had you on today. So I'm glad you're on.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so I am the CEO of an IT company that's headquartered here in Fort Worth. It is called Envoy Managed Services. And we started in 2014 through a series of interesting events. And so I like to kind of talk about how we got started, and especially in these times that are changing and stressful, kind of talk about how we made lemonade out of lemons and are still operating an IT services company that's growing and expanding today. And it's all based on the team then, and it's the same team now. So it's kind of a fun adventure that we've been through the last 6 years.
Yeah, I love that. And that's it. We talked about teamwork. And actually, even as we're talking, I'm going to bring up a tip that I hope will help people. I'm about to say something to Nikole that you guys should be doing with other people. So this is how it works. Nikole, have you met Kate over at Try Lately yet?
No, I have not.
You should meet Kate. Kate is also the CEO of an IT startup. And I think you guys would, it would be nice because there aren't that many women in IT. So it would be a nice meet for you. So that's how you do that. If you meet people and they've got something that you're like, oh my gosh, you should know this person, introduce them. So I'll send you an email after the show and make sure you know her, because she's a wonderful person, and I think you two will like each other a lot and can support each other.
That was wonderful.
Yeah.
That's a great way to do that. I love it.
I know, and it was not my plan, but as soon as you said it, I'm like, I can't forget to tell her this because you should know her. She's wonderful. So tell me about your journey. Tell me how. I know you were working somewhere else and then something happened. What happened?
I did finance for a multinational company, which was fabulous. I had crazy ideas and ways to integrate systems and utilized our technology team to do all the heavy lifting. And we worked on a ton of projects over a decade together, which was fabulous, had an amazing team environment. And our employer, at the same time decided to relocate all of us to Georgia. and also do a huge acquisition at the same time. And the majority of the team was going to leave, and they were going to be without their US technology team. And I, of course, had worked with them for a decade. So what started kind of as one of those, oh, wouldn't it be great if, or somebody should really try doing this. What started as a kind of a pie in the sky idea quickly grew legs, and we decided to start a company, hire the technology team that was going to be leaving, and negotiate to sell our services back to our old employer as an outsourced model. And within 30 days, we were basically spun up and operating. So that was sort of the beginning at the end of 2014 and early 2015 of how Envoy got its start.
That is amazing. And so you were able to basically bring your whole team with you then?
Yes, the majority of the team actually came with us. And it was really fun because in the beginning, it was, oh, this is so exciting. We're going to have kind of our own business. But we were still through a growth journey that we had to go through to figure out how to go from being an internal department to actually a customer service oriented organization, because now, of course, we were one step removed. So we had a couple of years of finding our feet and working through that together and adding to our team and bringing in some talent that understood kind of how to take the organization to the next level, and really working on transitioning to being a small business and knowing what all that meant. So there were a lot of trials and tribulations with that, and we had to change and work together as a team to overcome those.
Well, and that's the hard part, right? Is trying to figure out, because I had always worked for somebody else, and my bosses would always say, oh, well, you take such ownership in the business. And I was like, yes, that's just part of what I do. But when you actually own it, it's so different. It's a little scary.
It's very scary. And actually, at the beginning, it was more managing the day-to-day and just getting through, how do you set up payroll? How do you set up taxes? How do you set up all the legal insurance that you need from a business perspective? How do you implement HR policy? It was extremely overwhelming. So in the beginning, it was like, okay, we worked great together for a decade. This is going to be easy. And the reality was, it was a lot of challenges, one after the other. And I think for myself personally, I was a fish out of water. I had run the finance of the organization in my old employer, but I'd never run a technology company. So no longer was I the subject matter expert. I was in over my head from all directions in terms of how to start up a business and run it. We had the team camaraderie, and that's really what kept us all going. But the actual small business and trying to start it and run it and make it successful as you're supposed to run a small business, hugely challenging, hugely challenging.
Yeah, well, and I was thinking about it this morning as I was inviting people to come and watch the show. I said to them, whether you have a team that's in your office or you have a team that's outside of your office, it's important. They're important people to you. So we just talked about the little referral thing that I just did. I said, here, let me introduce you to somebody. But all of those things you talked about, payroll and HR and all of that, if you don't, at least in the beginning for a small business, it's not like you're going to have an HR department right from the beginning. You're not going to have somebody to do your payroll in-house right from the beginning. So you have to find those places. How did you manage to find that? How did you build outside of your own team? How did you build a team outside of you?
Well, I've always been about relationships first, interacting with people that I enjoy. And it's really interesting once you start to tell your struggles or being willing to open up and say, I'm having this challenge, the people around you can rally. And most often in your network, you're going to have somebody out there that can really help you. And if you already have a relationship with that person or some sort of a rapport, then it's easier to let them in and let them help. So I think it's a combination of letting people know that you're having challenges and not feeling like you have to know everything, and leveraging those around you that you already know that you believe have your best interest at heart. And together you'll find someone that can get the job done.
Right. Well, you just said that sometimes you've got to know what you don't know. And that's very, very hard. It's not just that I don't ask for help. It's when I don't know that I actually need help. Right.
Ooh,
so
yes.
So I think that's one of the hardest things. So how has your team developed? Have you found, how did they rise is what I'm trying to get at within that. You bring them over, they've got this position, but when you start a business, people are going to have to be leaders at some point, right? It can't just be you. So how have you managed that part of it?
So we got the gift of challenge and chaos given to us multiple times. And in those moments, you really, I believe, work together to get through them or you fail. And so our largest client is still our old employer. And in 2018, they actually let us know that they were going to be cutting budgets kind of through a strategic process, and they were not going to be outsourcing as much as they had in the past. And so certain of our team members were going to not be able to work for them anymore. And the easy answer that everyone kind of expected was you just let those people go. And I'll say those couple of years leading up to this, we were all kind of going with the flow. Things were going well. And this was the first time we'd kind of had that kick in the hiney that said, wow, if you're going to keep this team together, that you decided to start a company to keep together, then something's got to give. So it was a lot of late nights. It was a lot of finance being my background. I needed a sound financial model, but just letting people go didn't feel right. So we decided to do something a little bit drastic, and this is to answer your question, because during this time period is when I think as a team, we really started to take it to the next level and count on each other even more. And people's unique skill sets came out beyond what we had seen before. So we decided to basically start the growth task force, as we lovingly called it, taking profits from the year that we were given the news and setting it aside to give us runway, keep the team together. And those team members were focused on figuring out how to grow Envoy and grow Envoy fast, because we had a certain period of time to keep our team together and continue to cover those expenses and overhead. So that was the runway, and it's ready, set, go, and we're going to do this together or we're not. We started as a team and we're going to go out as a team. So those people that were part of the growth task force in 2018 are still with us today.
I love that. And actually it was, you saw me writing down as you were talking, growth task force. I think it's really, really great. So we had a guest on a few weeks ago, and he talks about the great small business plateau. Patrick Lee, he talked about the great small business plateau, and he talks about that. He says, maybe that plateau is where you want to be, but are you a growth business or a lifestyle business? Right. And so for you, you chose that. You chose the growth business. I'm so sorry. The reason I seem distracted is my great big dog has come in here, and my son has just gone downstairs, and I know that I have a repairman in the basement. So if the dog starts barking, I'm going to mute myself and you'll have to carry on with the show.
I will do my best.
I'm so sorry to have that happen right in the middle. I don't know what he was doing. So I want to talk about some of the lessons you've learned, because I think that's one of the best things about what we're doing here is we're offering lessons to small business owners, whether they're just thinking about starting or whether they have been doing it for a few years. What are some of the best lessons you've learned through this process?
So number one, I've learned that I do not need to be the smartest person in the room, and that the people around me can bring extreme value, lots of ideas and lots of insight. And it's really important to give everybody a voice. That doesn't necessarily mean everyone gets a vote, but everyone in your team should have a voice, and really learn to connect with what those individuals bring to the table. Being, I would say, vulnerable enough to be able to say, I don't know all the answers, and let everyone else around you kind of thrive and rise to the occasion is super important. I believe our team is very close because we're authentic with each other. We can have the challenging and tough conversations, as well as celebrating our victories when we have them. And then I think this is the most pertinent to what's going on right now in the world around us, is that if I look back, every really great decision that we've made in terms of this company has happened after a very difficult time. And so even though no one wants to feel uncomfortable or stressed or overwhelmed or sort of like their back is against the wall, I've looked back and learned to sort of lean into those feelings and say, okay, there's something coming. There's something that's going to happen next that's going to be really great. And I don't like how I got here necessarily, and I wouldn't wish it, but I'm going to lean into those feelings and I'm going to figure out what I'm supposed to do next. So I think that's the biggest thing with everything going on around us, is knowing, wow, this is a leaping off point to something that's next. And right. To sort of take that uncomfortable feeling and figure out how to use it to propel forward.
I love that. And actually, Kurt just said, giving people voice is great. My boss always asks for my opinion, listen to what I say, and then he makes the decision he thinks is best for the company. I think that is, it is really key. And it was one of the hardest things for me to learn because I am not good at asking for help. Right. And so I did, in the beginning, I didn't want to admit that I needed the help that I need. And now, I put things out to my team all the time to say, okay, I don't know that I know the best way forward here. How would you do it? And you get so many great ideas if you give them that voice and give them that opportunity to step up and say they've got it. Right.
Right. And isn't that a great feeling, though, knowing that you don't have to carry all the burden and that everyone around you is there to take their part and to be a part of a bigger purpose? It's a really neat feeling when you can let a little bit of that go. And I'm a bit of an only child, maybe a little over controlling. And so being able to say, this doesn't all have to be on my shoulders is freeing once you do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. For me, that has been the biggest part of our big journey here. So I really, actually, I'm going to tell you another story. So have you read the book by, I think it's Phil Knight, and it's called Shoe Dog?
No, I have not.
I love this book because I think teams are so important, and it's about Nike is what it's about. So whether you like Nike or not, what's great about it is that he talks about how he had this small group of people in the beginning who believed in him and took that step and really went and built that business. And in the beginning, they were making nothing. Nobody was making any money, but they were like, we believe. And then at the very end of it, he says, and this is what they've gotten now. This is, these are the things they've been able to build. And it was so cool to watch it as a business owner. So I think that's, one of those books that is definitely worth going out and getting. And then I was talking to Kate over at Try Lately, same thing. She said that her team has been behind her every step of the way, even sometimes saying, well, why don't we not do payroll this month? Like, that's just amazing, right? Wow. That you could build a team like that. So, yeah. So what is your single best piece of advice when somebody says, I'm going to start a business? What is your first thought that you say to them?
First thought, maybe not first thought, but thereafter would be, don't be afraid to fail. Failure in and of itself can be a really great thing. And myself, I look back over my life and maybe there's some things I didn't do because I didn't want to fail. And so what's the worst case scenario? It doesn't work out and you go and you do something that you would have done anyway. Not being afraid to go all in and really take that leap of faith. And obviously you plan and you want to have contingencies and there's some things you want to do to set yourself up to not really hurt yourself if you fail, but don't be afraid to make a mistake and fail. You'll learn from it and you can pick up and move on and try something new. So I think that stops a lot of people, especially in this day and age when everything's out there and everyone can see what you're doing, is to fail. And there's nothing wrong with failing.
Right. No, I absolutely agree. So I love that. If one of the things that I think is people, and you just said it, you do have to plan, but you have to be careful how you're planning, right? Because you said you have to plan, but you had 30 days. You had 30 days to get it done, right? So you're like, okay, we're planning it. We have an idea. We're going to go for it. I think too often people have an opportunity and are afraid to just take it. So, I think there is a balance there. What do you think about that?
For sure. I like to have the little trifecta. This is what I've called it, which is where my gut, my heart, and my brain align. And so there's always, it's my finance background. The first thing I'll do is it's a spreadsheet. It's how are we going to finance it, do it? What does that actually look like? And then kind of like with the growth task force, even though you have a plan, I kind of got to wait for that gut and that heart to align and say, this is the right way to go. And I know I have logic behind it and that's okay. But man, if my gut and my heart are telling me that this is something that needs to happen, then I'm also going to find a way to make that spreadsheet work. So kind of having that little, everything's working together and I have that voice in the side of my head that says, go. I think that is something, that true intuition is something to really listen to.
Right. Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much. Nikole, I want to tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Yep. So you can text my name. That's Nikole to the phone number on the screen. It's 817-458-0202. And you'll get all my contact information and a little list of some teamwork tips and tricks and some things that I've learned related to the team over the years that'll hopefully inspire you to do something cool.
And if they want you to speak at their event, how do they go about doing it? Can they do it through the same number?
You can do it through the same number, and there's my LinkedIn, email, and phone and contact information, and I would love to hear from them. I will say that this is a big departure from my norm. A year and a half ago, I was scared to go to a networking event, let alone be able to speak or engage with people. So it's another small, I guess, learning and pushing yourself forward and doing something new and not being afraid to fail is being able to go out there and speak and engage and tell our story. So I love the opportunity to do that.
Awesome. So that sounds great. So Nikole, stick around for just a minute. I want to tell everybody what's coming up Wednesday. Just so you know, I'm going to change my schedule. For everybody who's listening to this, I've been doing it 5 days a week. We're going to go to 2 or 3 days a week, depending on how many people we have coming in. I'm going to do fewer of the ones where I just come on and talk because I think I'm a little bit boring. So we're going to not talk quite as much. But Wednesday, we have Tony Martignetti coming in. He's going to be talking about how to handle personal and business changes. And this is a great time for that. So please do tune in on Wednesday. I also want to remind you again, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate that. And finally, if you have questions about digital marketing, we love to answer them. So please go to asmmdigital.com, leave us a message there, and we'll get back to you. So I want to make sure, thank you. So this is Kurt's my biggest fan. He says, "You are not boring. I love listening to you talk." I think he just likes the accent. So
that's wonderful.
Nikole, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on. And I am really impressed that if you didn't like even networking, that you have done a great job with this.
Thank you. And can I give you one more little piece of information, if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So one of the things that we did during these challenging times, the team got together and wanted to give back. And we launched a new on-demand service that's free for small businesses for the remainder of June. And it's called teletek, and it's TELETEK. And if you go to our website, and for your listeners, because we kind of have we have a lot of demand for this, if your listeners want to go and click on the webpage for you, they can actually get to the front of the line. So it's Envoy Managed Services .com/teletek, TELEK -ASMM. And so this is free. It's to get any of your IT questions answered. You get the ability to chat with one of our technicians live, and it's free. Small businesses want to help. Doesn't matter where you are in the US, and anyone who uses your show's link will get to the front of the line for that. So
thank you. That is awesome.
And help others as well.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And we will put it out. That will be in the show notes, especially on YouTube, but we'll also have it on Facebook so they get it as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was really, really fun. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time and for having me on.
All right. All right, guys. So we will see you again on Wednesday. Take care.